The Shi are perhaps one of, if not the most well-known, but also most forgotten factions to rise from the old world ashes. They show such promise in terms of technology and scientific research, yet they have also seemingly vanished from the face of the earth. But where did these people come from? Who's in charge? And what has happened to them? It all began with the Great War, 2 hours of mutually assured destruction that reduced humanity to almost nothing. Those fighting in this war were left without leaders, without structure, and those stranded on foreign soil left wondering if there's even a home to go back to. That was the case for the naval crew aboard the Shi Huangti, a Chinese nuclear submarine which washed ashore near the burning ruins of San Francisco, where very little life remained. After being shipwrecked for quite some time without word from their superiors, the crew had no choice but to head inland to look for food. Luckily, the radiation levels were tolerable and no one suffered any ailment beyond being homesick. As they searched the destruction, they came across the remnants of Chinatown, and after seeing the architecture, stonework, and characters reminiscent of their homeland, they decided this would be their new home. The naval crew began cooperating with the few survivors that had crept back towards the city, including the cultists who would later become the hubologists. Parts were taken from the wrecked submarine, the subsystems and mainframe, as well as anything that could be used for defensive purposes. These salvage parts were used to construct the Steel Palace, a safe place for their new emperor to live, as well as a workspace for the naval crew, who began focusing on various scientific ways to rebuild and strengthen their new empire. In time, the Steel Palace became a hub for the other survivors, a scientific bastion where new factions, both friendly and not, would come to settle. But all those who settled here lacked the knowledge or capability to flourish like the naval crew had, and as such they were the ones to stand out above the rest, becoming the most influential faction in the San Francisco area. Unlike the other survivors who were struggling to get a foothold, the naval crew had already done so thanks to the submarine they had at their disposal. With this, they ensured a future for themselves and for their families. Which brings me to the descendants of the naval crew, known as the Shi. The Shi, the descendants of those that washed ashore, still inhabit this Steel Palace, not as the remnants of a fallen empire, but as a new faction forged from the old world. Despite being a new faction, they have kept some of their ancestors' traditions. More specifically, they have kept a ruling monarch at the top of their feudal system, known as the Emperor. However, few have seen this mysterious man, and even fewer know the truth. For the Emperor is not the descendant of the original naval crew from China, nor are they some other new survivor either, rather the supercomputer that was aboard the submarine when it was beached, salvaged and implemented into the Steel Palace to dictate the course of the Shi Empire. Hidden from prying eyes, it analyzes facts and events, plotting the optimal course for the Shi Empire to follow, only ever having the Empire's best interest in mind. As such, it is a far better leader than any human could ever be, for it has no bias or personal gain to cloud its judgment. Though of course the actual procedures that the Shi have are still created by humans, they are simply using the machine's logic as a guide, as the decisions it makes are calculated but often cold and inhuman, but still a solid foundation for the Shi to build upon. It stores their history, their research, and potential projects for the future, making it an invaluable part of the Shi Empire. Without it, their abilities and success would decline rapidly. In order to protect the computer, the Shi have created an elaborate ruse, where the Emperor, the supercomputer, is treated publicly as a human being, who's then hidden away for his own safety. This not only allows the supercomputer to be kept safe, away from the outside world, but it also allows the real Emperor, Ken Li, to be more involved, without those wishing ill will towards the Emperor getting in his way, leaving him to lead the Shi from behind the scenes in a much safer position. His official position is that of the Emperor's advisor, acting as a go-between from the false Emperor to the loyal subjects, providing them with information on what to do next, who to watch out for, and any likely locations of importance based on what the machine has predicted. Thanks to the false Emperor's ability to analyze and predict beyond what almost all humans could, the Shi are well aware of almost all happenings in the immediate area. Almost everything involving the Hubologists and tanker vagrants are known to the Shi, thanks to their mechanical monarch, but it does still have its limits. Even though it knows more about the Enclave, the most mysterious faction in New California at that time, it's still limited by the data it has available. So even though it can predict a 97% probability that the Chosen One's tribe was taken to an Enclave compound, it doesn't know why they were taken, what will happen to them, or what the Enclave's agenda even is, simply because it has no data on the matter. As to how the machine gets more data, that I will explain in just a moment. In addition to their supercomputer leader, the Shi also have a number of research stations, biological, chemical, and physical research labs, giving them a technological edge that most factions can only ever dream of having. Thanks to this, they have become a major research and development hub, one that has stayed out of the wasteland politics, which has likely played a part in their longevity. In addition to keeping to themselves, their remote location and unsavory characters, the gangs and cultists that live nearby, has likely helped the Shi from being dissolved into other larger factions, at least that we know of. Thanks to their isolation and shunning of outsiders, the Shi have managed to retain a certain amount of their ancestors' customs, the clothing they wear, the language they speak, and the architecture surrounding them all serve as reminders of where their ancestors came from, a place that most of the Shi have never even seen, yet still deeply respect. The overall society is representative of a feudal system, one that has a strict hierarchical organization. The leader is technically the Shi Emperor, although we know the truth, they still try to keep that illusion and tradition alive, mostly out of habit, but also for safety. Under the false Emperor is Ken Lee, the real Emperor, who masquerades as the Emperor's advisor, and beneath him is the Shi Guard, whose sole purpose is to protect the Shi Emperor from danger, as well as to preserve the research and developments the scientists have made. Speaking of the scientists, they very rarely leave the Steel Palace, and can be seen longing to see the sun again. Beneath the guards, or on equal terms, but with a different role, is the Shi military, a small but very effective fighting force. Their mission is to protect Chinatown, where the Steel Palace is located, as well as to ensure the safety of those serving the Shi. In addition to security, both inside and outside the palace walls, the Shi also have a network of loyal spies that operate within San Francisco, monitoring everything that goes on inside the city. And this is how the Shi get their new information for the Emperor to analyze. The spies pass the information back to Ken Lee, who does the same to the Emperor, who then calculates the best course of action for the Shi to take. Continuing with the hierarchy, those that do not have an official position within the Shi are at the bottom of the hierarchy, and are expected to provide for the rest of the community in return for safety. The main threat that the Shi have to face are the Hubologists, the descendants of the cultists who once aided the naval crew in building their Steel Palace. They have become increasingly aggressive towards the Shi and would like to sabotage their scientific achievements, for no other reason than what they are doing doesn't fit in with their pseudo-scientific ways. Due to this, the Shi have taken a strong disliking towards the Hubologists and would very much like them to be permanently removed. The rest of San Francisco doesn't interfere with the Shi. In the words of others, the Shi may talk a bit funny, but as far as people go, they are genuinely good people, with honest intentions and aspirations, as long as you don't get in their way or try to hinder their advancements, that is. Speaking of advancements, the Shi are one of the most advanced factions in the Wasteland. They, surprisingly, have the capability to manufacture and outfit their military with high-tech weapons, even restoring pre-war suits of T-51 power armor, a feat very few can still achieve. As I have already mentioned, the Shi have a number of research stations. In their physics department, the scientists are learning how to harness the powers of the sun, wind and sea, even developing nuclear energy and learning theories regarding space travel, showing just how ambitious yet capable they truly are. To fuel their theoretical space travel, they have managed to synthesize a new type of fuel using plant extracts and sea life, actually integrating pre-war pipelines to their own fuel reservoirs to transport fuel to areas of significance, including the PMV Valdez, once again showing how advanced they are in comparison with the other factions at the time. Even the Brotherhood of Steel were leagues beneath them. The one thing that only accentuates their technological prowess is their focus towards manufacturing a fully functioning vertibird, and all within a 12-month deadline. With an additional year, they are also calculated to have the option of mass-producing vertibirds if they so choose. If that wasn't impressive enough, the Shi have also started making advancements into radiation-resistant plant life, creating a radiation-reducing vine that could be theoretically used to clean the wasteland of radiation, which is a very noble thing to focus on, almost unwinding their ancestors' mistake, if only to some small degree. However, not everything the Shi do ends in success. The most notable failure is the experimentation using an FEV-derived serum to create super soldiers. Dr. Long Wang, the lead scientist on the matter, did have some success injecting rodents, but quickly grew impatient and injected himself, wanting to transform into a mutant with incredible strength. Instead of getting what he wanted, Dr. Wang dissolved into a puddle of green goop, and the project was quickly cancelled, moving resources towards the radiation-reducing vine, which did prove to be more effective. Now those are just some of their achievements and failures that the Shi have had. We know of their beginning, and the time they have spent living in San Francisco, but we don't know what has become of the Shi. All we have are 3 possible endings, and out of those 3, not a single one is considered canon, and those endings are as follows.
The Shi, demoralized and leaderless after your rampage through their town, slowly drifted apart. They blended into other towns, hoping to find a place free from the depredations of killers. The strain of plant the scientists were growing mutated, gaining a measure of sentience. It killed the laboratory technicians and took over the laboratory in which it was first conceived. It took a massive concentration of resources to crush the being, and this left the Shi poverty-stricken. They disappeared into the wastes. The Shi flourished, creating a botanical scourge on the radiation surrounding their beloved town. Though this vine could not grow in other soils, the Shi took care to nourish it in their lands. They continued to grow in strength and prominence, forming the basis of a new empire.
Very little has been said about the Shi since the Enclave's destruction in New California. Conrad Kellogg, an Institute operative, once worked as a Shi enforcer after moving to San Francisco with his wife, but after that point in time, we know nothing more about the Shi. As to what happened to them, I'll let you decide. So the Shi are the descendants of the naval crew of the Shi Huangti, a Chinese nuclear submarine that washed ashore on the beaches of San Francisco. Without contact from their superiors, and without a way to get home, they decided to make a new home in the remnants of Chinatown, using the wrecked submarine to build the Steel Palace, where the false emperor analyzes data, providing them with the best possible choices to ensure their longevity. Among their scientific achievements, they have researched into solar power, as well as a new plant-based and sea life fuel, theoretical space travel, radiation-reducing vines, and above all else, the capacity to mass-produce vertibirds. Their main threat above all else are the herbologists, who they have no qualms about wiping off the face of the earth. But as for their own fate, that is unknown. Until the developers state otherwise, the Shi could be either dead, scattered, or flourishing. Until then, you can decide. Be sure to show your support by liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already for more Fallout content. If there's anything you would like to see in a later video, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. With that said, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.